This is Betsy Wiersma, and a wonderful thing happened during COVID. We had a COVID baby. A baby, a COVID baby. What are we talking about? Well, while all of us were hunkered down and being safe and being socially distanced, 62 brave women came together to share their story. 62 women said yes to writing a 1,000-word essay to uplift and inspire the world. 62 women brought the ingredients of their best self. Those ingredients were perseverance. Those ingredients were joy. Those ingredients were, gosh, it's such a yummy mix, it's hard to even capsulize them. But they all had one thing in common. Those women with those yummy ingredients mixed together stayed in the crock pot for 4 months and became a most yummy stew. Welcome to the Stew Authors. We are so happy to greet everyone as we are here today, and we are so happy to welcome the world to hear some of the stories behind the scene of the stew. So this was going to be a live event, but because of the COVID opportunity, we get to have a virtual event. And since everything works out in our favor, I think the good news about this is we can be now here live on Facebook and record this so people can hear and meet some of our amazing stew authors. These are the authors of The Stew, Smart Talk Exceptional Women, women that came together during the COVID crisis in the spring of 2020 to do something great, which was to contribute 1,000 words-ish of what they wanted the world to know, how they could uplift other people, especially women, on a curious journey, and how we can help each other to do good and have fun. Today we are on Facebook Live and also recording for future prosperity and for posterity, but prosperity of others who can hear these stories. Next up is the amazing Maria Borrego. Maria had me at hello because she's an artist, and you know how I feel about that. Maria, welcome to your interview. Hello, let me see, we're check technology to be sure. Okay, can you be sure you can unmute? There you are.
Yeah.
You were awesome.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning. We're going to put you on speaker view for all the people on Facebook Live. So Maria, tell everybody, introduce yourself and tell them about your story.
Sure. My name is Maria Borrego, and my story title is The Fine Art Snub. And you want me to tell a little bit about it?
Yeah, I do. I want, because people are like, the Fine Art Snub. Is snub really a title in your book? Is that a headline? Of course it is. Tell them about the snub.
Yes, it's called The Fine Art Snub. Now, many of you might have heard of the famous Paris, museum. How do you say it, Susan? The Louvre.
The Louvre.
Right?
The
and
Louvre.
So Susan was one of my early business coaches, and Susan and I got to go to Paris a year ago in April, and she said, Maria, don't you want to go to the Louvre? You're going to be so excited to go to the Louvre. I'm like, no, because I don't like fine art. I don't like fine art people. I just don't like the fine art industry, which is really weird because I own a paint party business and have for almost 10 years. And the reason is because the very first ever trade show I went to, which by the way, was the key advice to my business from Miss Susan Drew. And when I went to the first trade show ever, we had hot pink pants, we had hot pink envelopes, we had funky, business cards, and we were like the fun party girls that show up to this fine art conference to buy supplies for our business. And it was like the fine art kind of conference, like pinkies up and all that. And some of you might be that, so don't worry, I come around to love you anyway. But during that, we were snubbed, meaning like we would tell them we do paint parties, we do fun little, paint and sips, girls' night out. And I'm not joking, I'm not exaggerating. They literally like up nose, eyes off to the side, kind of wanting us to go to someone else to buy material. And we were looking to buy canvas, brushes, paint, to find our own brand. And finally, of course, we did find a supplier who embraced us. And now, fast forward, this was probably 6-7 years ago, but if you fast forward and you go to Michael's, Hobby Lobby, what's on sale? What can you go buy today or yesterday on Black Friday was massive packs of canvas and paint and brushes, because painting is the #1 hobby now and has been for over 5 years. And it's because of the paint and sip industry like we do. So many of you have probably participated in that. So the Fine Art Snub really is about me finally discovering the fine artist, because I never wanted to know about their art. I never wanted to learn about them. And what I learned was that they too were snubbed. That people like, I have it in my book. By the way, it's page 60. And I loved learning about Henry Rousseau. I loved learning about Gaudi. I loved learning about just Frida, of course, my favorite. I should be using my Frida cup. And so these people, these artists were snubbed, and most of them didn't become famous until they passed away and their art didn't become valuable. So I always tell my family now, you'll want this after I die.
You will want this, because tell them what that is, because it looks like it's quilling, and you know how I feel about quilling. I love a good quilling.
Yes, this is one of my earlier pieces. So it's quilling. I actually cut my own paper back then, so it's a little bit thicker. It's one of my oldest pieces of artwork that I love, and it really, you know, at the time it just felt crafty, but I love it. It's like my favorite piece. These are flowers made out of paper plates that I love, and I had them out for fall, but I loved them so much I moved them in here. So
okay, so now you can see why you had me at hello, because I'm going to go get a whole stack of paper plates and call you, and we'll put on masks and go to the village workspace, sit across the room and make flowers like that out of paper plates. I'm so totally in. Maria, so you give 5 tips in your story, The Fine Art Snub, which is located in the Stew, Smart Talk Exceptional Women. It's an art and insights book. There it is, an art and insights book that has not only stories from 62 women, it has poetry, it has song lyrics, and this crazy artist, Betsy Wiersma, who just became an artist 3 years ago, somehow did 100 pieces of art that decorate all the pages. So you give 5 tips in your article. Do you want to briefly just talk about what those things are that you talk about?
Yeah, sure. So I tried to use some tips about your own, they're actually tips about your life, your business, because what happened was I really learned how to extract that bitterness that formed in my heart. Remember I told you I didn't like fine art people. And what happened was I held that as a grudge. And so in return, I ignored a big part of my industry. As soon as a customer would say anything about like wanting a Georgia O'Keeffe piece or something like that, I'd instantly, it's just the bitterness, and you might all know what I'm talking about. And so what I learned from these artists was like Gaudi, I learned about time. And so your artwork takes time, just like your business, your life, everything takes time. Do you know that the La Sagrada Familia will be complete after 144 years? And I love this. He said, my client is not in a hurry. That's right, because his client is God, right? And so I love that. I love learning about Gaudi and his artwork. Henry Rousseau, I loved him because he didn't become an artist till after he was 40, and he couldn't travel to forests or anything like that. So he would go to taxidermists, but he would go to parks and botanical gardens, and that's how he learned how to paint. And he always added something funky in his painting, which some of you might think is cool, which I do think is cool. They're harder to paint, but I think that can cause a distraction too. And it distracts you from the big part of the artwork when you actually look at the forest and the trees and the fruit and things like that. The third one was perspective. Of course, that's an art technique about the illusion, vanishing points, and diminishing dimension, I should say. But Georgia O'Keeffe, she painted from the perspective of an insect. Meaning, so sometimes you'll see these big, massive petals. And so the lesson I learned from her is to embrace the posture of humility. And details, I just learned a little bit more from Paul Cézanne. Paul Cézanne, you know, he would adjust his apples over and over again, and they would eventually rot. And I thought, I got a couple of lessons from that. One, take your time, of course, but don't take so long that your apples rot, meaning embrace the adjustments, but don't let the details spoil your work. And then inspiration from Henry Rosso. Again, I already talked about that, about that there was alternative resources. And that was me as a small business owner, just knowing that I had alternative resources to learn about being a businesswoman, even though I didn't have the education or background, especially because I wasn't an artist either. And then the last one was just simplicity. The artists from the early 1800s used 3 colors, red, blue, and yellow. And they didn't use black in their painting. If you can't tell, black's my favorite color. And I just really learned how to embrace minimalism. So now even when I lead paint parties online, I'm like, hey, you just need 3 colors, red, blue, and yellow, and we can do this. So yeah, embrace simplicity in your business and your life.
Well, Maria, you had just given everybody more than just one thing to inspire the world. But
Yeah, you have to go buy the book, read the book.
So read the book. But I also just love that, you know, if you really look at what you're talking about, it's like you shut down opportunities in your life to learn and grow because you felt snubbed, and you made the story up, which we all do, called, oh, those people look down at me. But when you got past that and you took the power back and you said, okay, let's take that story off the table. So to end today, I want to do a shout out to our friend Cindy Tyler. She was not able to join us on the call today. Cindy Tyler's company, Vervante, is the publisher of The Stew. And this is how this worked. I was with a random person one day saying that I wanted to put my art into a card deck, and she was only sent to me for that interaction to tell me, have you heard of Vervante? It's a women-owned publishing company that helps people's dreams come true. And I never ever saw that person again, right? It's one of those angels that dropped into my life to deliver one purpose, to tell me about Vervante. So the great backstory is I call and I say, hey, I'm an artist. I have these angels I've been making. I like to make a card deck. And I've got a marketing idea. What if I put Vervante on the card deck? Can I negotiate a better deal in my printing? And the person on the other end of the phone says, yeah. And I said, well, don't you have to ask your boss about that, or, to get a better deal? And she said, I am the boss. This is Cindy Tyler. I'm the creator of Vervante. I love your enthusiasm. I'd love to partner with you. I'll give you a good deal on your card deck. Let's go. And that was now before 2 card decks, 3 journals, 5 sets of cards, holiday cards, and the creation of The Stew. And this illustration is just to say to everyone listening that it's about the journey and the people you ask for help, right? Christy's got a curriculum, easy for me to say, curriculum coming out in 2021 when you might be listening to this podcast. It's because of everyone standing together that we help each other. We find the resources we need. And it's because of these amazing authors that we have The Stew. So just to recount at the end of our telecast today, The Stew is Smart Talk, Exceptional Women. It is a 200-page art and insight book. The art is mostly by me. There's a couple pieces by others. We can all hold up our Stew books. And the art was done in intention to create a really small book. But when I thought and prayed about it, I heard that book is about your girls. That book is all your girls. So everybody hold up your book. I'm going to snap a quick picture because we are multitasking. This is a so good picture. I got to wait for just a second as Christy gets her book. So this book was created to be a gift to people of the world. It is 62 stories of women who write uplifting insights and ideas, and it is available at campexperience.com/shop. That's campexperience.com/shop. And yes, it is Arts and Insights, The Stew, Smart Talk, Exceptional Women. And it is available at any time. It's available now. It goes to the Vervante bookstore, and you will be able to get your copy. We will have events in the future. Jill has a great idea about a book club event. Christy will help us join together and celebrate as a VIP event as soon as we can join together. And so many of the authors have such good work in the world. So check them all out on campexperience.com/The Stew. And we appreciate all of the time and the energy for the authors coming together in this digital format. We appreciate the heartfelt sharing of your story. We appreciate your love and support for this crazy project. Again, we call out Megan Osgood, the organizer. We call out Carol Calkins and Carrie, her associate editor. We call out Melissa Labad, the amazing designer that made this happen. And we call out and say thank you to all of you who are supporting women coming together for art and insights for the world. This has been your hostess and Stew mother, organizer, curator Betsy Wiersma, and the authors from the Stew. And we look forward to more times we can come together to share as we do good and have fun. Thank you so much for enjoying this call today, and have a wonderful, wonderful journey in your life, uplifted and inspired by others who are all here happy to help you.